Stress urinary incontinence is a situation where when there is increased pressure sort of within your pelvis and your thorax, within that system, there's increased pressure, then we can experience some leakage after that increased pressure if the whole system isn't managing itself well. And this is a really, really common way that urinary incontinence manifests itself. And historically, we have assumed that all stress incontinence was related to pelvic floor fitness capacity. So we kind of thought that if we improved the fitness capacity in the pelvic floor and therefore improved that sort of sphincter mechanism that controls the continence, we would be able to correct this issue. And what we understand now is that this situation where you're leaking after that rise in pressure actually is quite nuanced. So oftentimes this actually is happening in people who have quite fit, strong pelvic floors. And particularly this is the case with athletes. We see their pelvic floors are actually much stronger than the average population, and they're still having this presentation of stress incontinence. So what else is going on? So one of the things that we now understand happens with this issue is that different than the muscles, which we call contractile tissue, we have non-contractile tissue. We have this inert tissue. And if that inert tissue has changed its kind of structure or integrity over time, sometimes this can actually create this leaking with that pressure because we just don't have the urethra supported quite as well as we need. And so really developing fitness capacity in the pelvic floor isn't going to help this issue. This is when we need to think about things that might support this tissue, such as an intravaginal support or external compression to sort of proprioceptively lift up that urethra. The other thing that can happen is when our energy system is compromised. We now understand that urinary leakage, when it's kind of manifesting like stress incontinence, can be a sign of energy availability limitation. And so this is when we really want to make sure people are getting adequate sleep, that they are fueling well with, nutrient-dense foods. This can be really important, and it can be an overlooked issue when it comes to stress urinary incontinence. The other thing that can happen is we can actually have overactivity in our bladder muscle. It's that muscle that lives inside our bladder. And when it's overactive, sometimes that pressure can actually trigger it to contract. So it isn't an issue with the sphincter mechanism in the pelvic floor. It's actually a hyperreactive bladder muscle that is presenting the same way. And so in that case, we really need to make sure we are figuring out why for that person in front of us is this bladder muscle so hyperactive and so easy to contract on us. So again, yes, we tend to often start with thinking about pelvic floor fitness capacity, but stress incontinence is more nuanced, and that is why our physio team is here to kind of help figure that out for you.